It was supposed to be the trip of a lifetime. Madison Claire Delaney, a 33-year-old freelance travel blogger from Asheville, North Carolina, packed up her aging navy blue Subaru Forester and set off on a solo journey across America. She'd mapped a route from the Smoky Mountains to the California coast, zigzagging through small towns and forgotten highways, chasing ghost stories and roadside legends for a piece she tentatively titled, Haunted America. She was Northwest's stranger to the road. Her blog had over 300,000 loyal followers, all eager to see what strange motel or abandoned church she'd stumble across next. She had a reputation for going off-grid, disappearing into places with little cell reception and emerging days later with haunting, cinematic photos and eerie tales. But this time, she disappeared for real. July 13, 2019. Madison posted an Instagram photo from a dusty, crumbling town in New Mexico called Glen Rio. Once a booming Route 66 pit stop, now a ghost town split between two states. Her caption read, "This place is unsettling. Empty gas pumps. A motel room that still smells like someone's last cigarette. I don't think I'm alone here." She added a ghost emoji. It was the last anyone would ever hear from her. 3 days passed without contact. Madison's mother, Carol Delaney, said she wasn't alarmed at first. Her daughter was used to off-the-grid travel. But by day 6, when calls went straight to voicemail and texts remained unread, dread settled in. Carol called the police in New Mexico. Then Texas. Then Arizona. Nobody could agree where jurisdiction began or ended. Glen Rio straddled the border. That's when the search began. Madison's car was found 2 weeks later, 40 miles southeast of Glen Rio. Parked at a remote desert rest stop off Highway 287. The keys were still in the ignition. Inside, they found her camera, backpack, and phone, battery drained, with the last photo saved at 2:17 a.m. It showed the blurry outline of a figure standing at the edge of the desert, half obscured by darkness. Zooming in only made it worse. Forensic analysts recovered one video clip from her camera's corrupted memory card. It lasted 8 seconds. Madison's voice, whispering, "I think someone followed me from that gas station." Then, static. Wind. Footsteps. A distant voice saying her name. They traced her last purchases, a tank of gas, a pack of batteries, and a road atlas from a station in Tucumcari. The clerk remembered her. She was off. Kept looking over her shoulder. Asked if we had bear spray. I told her she'd be lucky to find a jackrabbit out here. He paused. She didn't buy the bear spray. Just stared at it. Locals whispered about Glen Rio. About things that moved in the old motel. Of children who went missing in the 70s. Of the fire in 1981 that destroyed the diner, and the waitress whose body was never found. None of it helped explain where Madison went. Surveillance from the Tucumcari gas station showed something chilling. A man in a faded green baseball cap followed Madison out of the store. His face was obscured by shadows. He never bought anything. FBI agent Lionel Reese reopened a dormant case from 1994. A solo female hiker vanished near Santa Rosa, 40 miles from Glen Rio. Her rental car was also found abandoned. Same conditions. Same whispers. Reese suspected a pattern. In 2025, droughts reduced the Rio Grande to a narrow, sluggish trickle near Presidio, Texas. Construction workers repairing a collapsed access road found something buried beneath the dried riverbed. A metal box. Inside, bones. And a skull with a single hairline fracture. And a necklace. Madison's. The metal box was caked in dried mud, its lid rusted shut. Investigators pried it open to reveal what appeared to be animal bones, until the forensic team identified the remains as partially human. A woman's. What made the case darker still was the discovery of a second, smaller skull beside the first. Not Madison. A different woman. It took 3 months to process the DNA from the bones. The results stunned everyone. The larger skeleton was confirmed as Madison Claire Delaney. The smaller, Cynthia Reyes, a 28-year-old woman who vanished in 1996 while driving cross-country to San Diego. Their remains were sealed together. But why? Also in the box were fragments of clothing, rusted buttons, and, strangest of all, 3 teeth wrapped in a child's sock. One tooth was baby-sized. Another had a filling with a dental ID match, Leah Mathers, a missing hitchhiker from 1982. A serial pattern was emerging, stitched together by the Rio Grande. Carved into the inside of the box lid was a crude engraving. It appeared to be a map. When overlaid with highway routes through New Mexico and West Texas, the lines marked a triangle: Glen Rio, Santa Rosa, and Presidio. Locals had a name for that stretch: the Devil's Patch. Investigators returned to Glen Rio, this time to the long-abandoned Red Sands Motel. Sifting through mildew and rubble, they found a guest book hidden beneath the front desk. One entry stood out. July 13, 2019, M. Delaney. Beneath her name, someone had scrawled in red pen: "Do not clean room 7. Room 7 was decaying. Peeling wallpaper. Mattresses split open. A rotting dresser drawer. Inside that drawer, a camcorder. Inside the camcorder, a mini DV tape. The label read simply, 'The Others.' The video was shaky, grainy, and disturbing. It showed at least 5 women, bound or unconscious, in different motel rooms. One frame froze the room number, room 7. In the last 2 seconds of footage, someone walks past the camera. Wearing a green baseball cap. FBI agent Lionel Reese stood in the heat of Glen Rio's ruins, staring at the scorched foundation of what used to be the diner. He'd seen things in his career: ritualistic killings, cartel dumps, long-buried corpses. But this case scratched at something primal. Something unseen. Something that moved. He reopened the Red Sands Motel file. A notation from 1983 caught his eye. A missing teen girl, Marjorie Kane, was last seen getting into a pickup truck with a man in a green cap. No plate. No follow-up. Reese knew he was staring down the kind of darkness that didn't retire. The FBI's digital forensics team extracted hidden data from the mini DV. There were actually 3 segments, 2 intentionally corrupted. After hours of reconstruction, the third played. A shaky shot of a motel hallway. Breathing. Heavy. Room 6. A muffled scream. Then silence. An anonymous tip led Reese to an old RV lot in Odessa, Texas. A man named Dean Taggart had lived there in the late 90s, alone, secretive, and oddly quiet. When the manager asked for rent in 1998, Taggart vanished overnight. Left behind, a green cap. Reese ran the name. Taggart wasn't real. But the RV had prints. And one matched Madison's camera. At Carol Delaney's insistence, Reese met with Madison's former roommate, Eva Prentice. She revealed that Madison had once received a series of anonymous emails warning her not to go west. The subject lines all read the same: "The river remembers." Eva had begged her not to take the Glen Rio detour. Madison had laughed it off. Room 6 was sealed off after the tape discovery, but Reese pushed to reopen it. Inside, a faded Polaroid nailed to the inside of a closet door. A woman sitting on a motel bed, holding up a newspaper dated June 12, 1994. Written across the bottom, "Help me." The woman in the photo was never identified. A burn barrel behind the Red Sands motel contained a slurry of charred bones and melted plastic. In the ash, investigators found 3 glass eyeballs, prosthetics, and beneath them, an undamaged locket. Inside the locket, a photo of a baby. On the back, Sophie, 1977. A forensic pathologist made a discovery that chilled everyone. The shape of the skull fractures on each victim suggested identical trauma, blunt force from the same implement. And more disturbingly, they were always fractured in the exact same spot. Left occipital lobe. As if practiced. Madison's phone, once believed wiped, contained 6 saved voicemails. One was from an unknown number. Dated July 11, 2019. "You're getting close. Too close. The motel keeps what it takes." Then a metallic clanging sound. Then breathing. Madison had never told anyone. For the first time, Reese's team started reviewing missing male cases near Glen Rio. They found a disturbing pattern. Men had gone missing too, but none had ever left behind items like the women did. One case in particular, a gas station mechanic, Trent Whitaker, vanished in 1993. His last call to his mother was chilling. "There's a girl here, she's not moving, and someone's watching me." While tearing down part of the motel floor for structural safety, a team found a hatch hidden under rotten planks. A basement. Blueprints from the county archive showed no such structure. Reese descended first. What he found didn't make sense. A row of chairs. A camera on a tripod. And hundreds of VHS tapes in moldy boxes, each labeled with a name and a date. All dates were from July. Reese and the techs began cataloging the tapes. The oldest was dated 1976. The most recent, July 13, 2019. Madison. She was tape number 93. Some names matched known missing women. Others were never reported. All filmed in that same dim room. One frame froze Reese mid-watch. Tape number 1, a teenage girl smiling, holding up a doll. Then, someone steps into frame. A man. Tall. Gloved. And wearing the hat. Audio enhancement on the tapes uncovered the voice. A low whisper. In every video. Same phrase, every time. "You came to the motel. The motel remembers." And then the camera would shake. Then the screaming. Reese ordered the motel demolished. But before it happened, he insisted on one last sweep. Behind the wallpaper of room 7, etched in tiny writing were hundreds of names. Some were fresh. Others nearly invisible. Madison Delaney. Cynthia Reyes. Marjorie Kane. And at the very bottom, Sophie. Reese's search led him to a retired contractor living in Amarillo. Walter Stengler, 89, had worked on the Red Sands Motel in 1972. When shown photos of the basement, his hands trembled. There wasn't supposed to be a basement, he said. But the original owner insisted on one, poured in secret. Paid cash. Brought his own men. Reese asked the owner's name. Stengler swallowed hard. He called himself Mr. Felix. Felix Anthony Murrin. The name triggered old files in the National Crime Database, linked to a cult-like group known as the Tracers, active in the early 70s, obsessed with time, death, and memory. He disappeared in 1982. But the Tracers believed July was a sacred month, when doors thin between realms. Reese wasn't dealing with a typical killer. A cold case analyst dug up something chilling. In 1999, a woman named Marla Jansen checked into a hospital in El Paso, dazed, barefoot, and dehydrated. She claimed she had escaped a motel in the desert. "They made me watch them watch me," she told the nurse. She was dismissed as schizophrenic. Discharged. Disappeared weeks later. Reese had the motel rubble combed piece by piece. Buried beneath one of the floor tiles was a rusted coin-sized pin. It bore a symbol, a triangle with an eye inside. The emblem of the tracers. On the reverse, Mr. The motel remembers. Seismic equipment from the highway crew picked up a hollow under the dried Rio Grande, not far from where Madison's remains were found. They drilled. Then stopped. Because they heard music. Faint. Warped. A music box. Excavation uncovered a stone-walled room beneath the riverbed. Inside, broken dolls, hundreds of cassette tapes, and hundreds of Polaroids. Every single photo was of a woman sitting on a motel bed, dated between 1973 and 2019. Every single woman looked terrified. Etched into the stone walls were hundreds of eyes, crudely drawn, gouged in with nails or tools. Some were weeping. Some had lashes made of real hair. Some were fresh. One cassette tape was labeled, Sophie, July 1977. It played the voice of a girl no older than 6. She's crying, whispering, the men with no face watches from the walls. Then silence. Then laughter, not a child's. Reese returned to Carol Delaney with everything. The tapes. The names. The possibility that Madison had been caught in something ancient and systemic. Carol simply said. She always said her nightmares had a motel in them. Long before the trip, the FBI unearthed the last undated VHS tape. When they played it, a shiver ran through the room. It showed the motel. Recently. And Madison. Alive. She whispers into the camera, "If someone finds this, he's still here. He doesn't age." Then she turns to look off camera. Her eyes widen. Then darkness. A woman appeared at the Presidio police station claiming to be Marla Jansen. Now 56. Gaunt. Eyes sunken. She said she survived by becoming invisible. That he only sees you if you remember him. She warned Reese. Don't say his name in July. As Reese prepared a formal report, he was shut down. Federal jurisdiction revoked. Files sealed. Stop digging, they said. But Reese couldn't. Because the motel was gone, yet the disappearances continued. A 19-year-old woman from Colorado disappeared near the same highway. Her dashcam uploaded automatically. The footage showed a man standing in the road. No face. Just the hat. Reese started mapping every disappearance since 1970. Always in July. Always in that triangle. Every 13th year, the count spikes. The next peak, 2035. Divers returned to the Rio Grande. They found another container. Inside, slips of paper. Names. Dates. Each burned around the edges. The next 3 names weren't victims, they were investigators. Reese's name was last. Surveillance drones captured something chilling. In satellite imagery, the foundations of a new structure appeared in the exact footprint of the Red Sands Motel. It wasn't there days earlier. And it was only visible in July. Facial recognition pulled from decades of analog footage showed the same man. Identical bone structure. Same hat. First sighting, 1962. Last, 2025. unchanged. An anonymous package arrived at Reese's home. Inside, a fresh guest book. One name written inside. L. Reese, July 13th, room 7. Reese vanished 2 days later. Carol Delaney received a voicemail. No number. Just Madison's voice. Mom, the motel's still here. But it remembers you now. Then static. In late July, after a rare flash flood, the motel footprint washed away. Locals say if you walk by the Rio Grande late at night, you'll hear voices calling for help. Always from beneath the water. Always in July. And sometimes, you'll see a flicker of light, a motel sign glowing in the dark. Vacancy. Just waiting.